What's up, everyone? Welcome to the February 15th edition of DraftKings Tournament Plays presented by PrizePicks. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And as a reminder, you get one free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up and make a deposit at PrizePicks. Be sure to use the code Awesemo to receive a 100% first deposit bonus up to $100 when you do so. Today, we're going to take a look at 5 of the top tournament options on DraftKings. As always, be sure to tune in to the deeper dive and live before lock from 5:30 p.m. Eastern up until tip at 7:30 p.m. Eastern tonight for more up-to-date information. We still have some pending injury news that could certainly change things, but for now, we're going to take a look at 5 of the top tournament options as things currently stand. Coming in at number 5, Jonas Valenciunis, currently projected for only 8% ownership tonight against the Memphis Grizzlies. He has about a 12% chance of being in the optimal lineup, according to the Boom Bust tool on Awesemo.com. He is only $7,500. He's likely to give you 30 to 32 minutes tonight. He's been a very productive fantasy option all season long. We have seen his usage rate come down a bit in the first 3 games that he's played since the addition of CJ McCollum. That's to be expected. You're adding another, ball dominant, high usage guy in McCollum to go alongside Brandon Ingram, and McCollum certainly a higher usage player than Josh Hart, who is essentially the minutes that McCollum is replacing. But in those 3 games, Valanciunas has still averaged 1.16 DraftKings points per minute. He still rebounds at a very high rate, and he's still going to get enough usage to be a high upside option at a reasonable price tag. Number 4 is CJ McCollum. He's projected for 10% ownership with a 13% chance of being in the optimal lineup. McCollum hasn't missed a beat since joining the New Orleans Pelicans. He's playing 36 plus minutes in competitive games. He has a 29.4% usage rate through his first few games, and he's averaged 1.26 DraftKings points per minute. I expect both of those numbers to come down as the sample size grows, but it is good to see that McCollum isn't playing second fiddle to Brandon Ingram. There's no real feeling out, waiting period, acclimation period, I guess, for McCollum. He's just come in right out of the gate and produced at a high level, getting a lot of usage, getting has a high assist percentage, very comparable, I think, to I think we'll end up seeing very comparable numbers to what we saw in Portland when he was playing without Lillard. So I still think that you're talking about somebody that's going to have a mid to upper 20s usage rate. I think we're going to see his assist percentage continue to be north of 20%. And I think we're going to see him settle in averaging around 1.1 to 1.15 fantasy points per minute. Number 3 is Evan Mobley, projected for 10% ownership with a 14% chance of being in the optimal lineup. He's $6,500 in tonight's matchup against the Atlanta Hawks. Mobley has averaged about 0.97 DraftKings points per minute this season. He's likely to give you 34 or 35 minutes if this game is competitive. There's nothing about Cleveland tonight that makes Mobley look any better than usual. You have Darius Garland active, you have Karis LeVert active, so there's no expectation that you see Mobley take on a bigger role than he normally does or than he has all season long, but he's still close to a fantasy point per minute player that's likely to play into the mid-30s and is only $6,500 with modest 10% ownership. Number 2, Jalen Smith, projected for 8% ownership with a 14% chance of being in the optimal lineup. He's a $3,900 power forward only player on DraftKings. Smith's averaged 1.08 DraftKings points per minute this season between his time in Phoenix and Indiana. We are waiting on a little bit of news with Indiana. Malcolm Brogdon, once again, is questionable. My assumption is that he's not going to play, but we'll have to wait for that information. But we do know that Chris Duarte is out. In Indiana's last game, Smith started in place of Duarte in the second half after Duarte was injured. If Brogdon is back, I think that you see Jalen Smith come off the bench, probably still play enough minutes to be a decent option. But assuming Brogdon is out, there's a good chance that Smith remains in the starting lineup. And if he does so, you're likely to get at least mid-20s, if not more, in terms of playing time for Smith. And as mentioned before, he's over a fantasy point per minute player. Number 1, not exciting at all, but underpriced for his current role. Nick Batum is projected for 18% ownership with a 21% chance of being in the optimal lineup. He's only $3,500 on DraftKings. He is power forward and center eligible. And while we don't get too excited when we think about rostering Nick Batum, it is worth mentioning that he has started 15 games this year where Paul George was out and both of Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris were active. In those 15 games, Batum has produced 0.84 DraftKings points per minute. He's averaged 24.8 minutes per game. If he's playing well, you certainly can get more minutes than that, particularly if this game is competitive down the stretch. But even if you get around 26 minutes from Batum at 0.84 DraftKings points per minute, $3,500 is not a bad price tag to pay there, and it opens up plenty for you elsewhere in your lineups. So to recap, the top 5 tournament options as things currently stand on DraftKings: number 5, Jonas Valanciunis; number 4, CJ McCollum; number 3, Evan Mobley; number 2, Jalen Smith; and number 1, Nick Batum.